Today, I'm going to venture into the life of a huge bug that has suffered through abuse and assault from his family and ultimately died because of this, for better or worse.
But probably better.
Our story is about a traveling salesman named Gregor Shamza, a man who cares about his family, even enough to pay their rent. The story begins with Gregor waking up in his bed and discovering that he has turned into a very large bug, because why not? As the story progresses, we get to see Gregor struggle his way through everyday life, no thanks to his family. Throughout the storyline, his family becomes increasingly more neglectful towards Gregor. Because of this, Gregor's family is responsible for his slow death. First, let's go over the abuse. This is one of the main ways that Gregor's family accelerated and caused his death. The abuse led to his death in multiple ways. His family always treated him terribly, never paying enough attention to him or caring for him enough. An example of this is when his family literally refused to remove a rotting apple from his abdomen, which was thrown by his father. We'll touch more on this later. Another example of Gregor being flat out abused is when his father forced him through the door to his room, despite him being too large to fit. So large, in fact, that forcing him through the door caused physical harm to his body. This will also show up again later. This may seem brutal now, but there is much more to cover about Gregor's mistreatment. Next, we're going to swing the opposite way and talk about how Gregor was treated when not ignored and neglected. We're going to talk about the violence. Now, even though one example does not include physical violence, it still fits the topic better than some other examples that do include physical violence, which should put this into perspective. Let's start by talking about the cleaning lady. I still consider her a member of the family since she's at the house every day. The cleaning lady was instructed to enter Gregor's room and clean once a day. During these times, if Gregor even attempted to interact with her, I should mention that he's not able to speak, she'd immediately get violent towards him. This is shown when she threatens to throw a chair at him for moving closer to her.
That's right, a bloody chair.
Now, let's backtrack to the first and one of the only times that Gregor left his room at all. When he initially exited his room, revealing his appearance for the first time, instead of anyone attempting to help him, his father grabbed a cane and used it to force Gregor back into his room, kicking him through the door frame which he was too large to fit through, causing him to bleed profusely from his side. There are some statements that say, oh, Gregor only died because bugs have short lifespans anyways. Yeah, his family mistreated him, but that didn't kill him, which is to be expected. While it is true that some beetles, which I believe Gregor to be, only live 3 to 6 months, as stated by Texas A&M University, Gregor is not a normal beetle. If we take a look at his death and downward spiral, he only started getting weaker after having the apple thrown at him and lodged in his abdomen. On top of this, Gregor is described as having white spots on his abdomen, indicating an infection. The inclusion of this detail shows us that this infection likely had something to do with his death. Knowing all this, we can finally backtrack to our initial claim. Gregor's blood is on his family's hands, as we saw direct abuse and assault, which certainly contributed to his death, the apple being the most apparent example. Knowing this, we can now confidently say that Gregor died because of his family's actions. You know, I can't blame them for what they did.